Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. You know the expression. Erasmus reminds us of that as we consider whether our president has a plan or is flying blind. The president is not wrong that there are some gross trade imbalances involving America and other partners, specifically China. But what is the right fix? One thing is for sure right now. This is the biggest bet Trump has made as president, these tariffs. And his legacy now includes the biggest tariff hike ever. But is that a distinction he wanted? It's not a good thing for our 401ks, not right now at least. But the real question is about time. What happens first? China and probably the EU coming to the table, or a massive recession that brings us to our knees? A major bank warned if tariffs stay in place, a recession is 60% more likely. The Fed head, Jerome Powell, said inflation is going to rise and could stay. Markets have surrendered over $6 trillion in value in just the past 2 days. And we are hearing for the first time in a long time that dreaded word, stagflation. Remember that from the 70s? The economy doesn't grow, but unemployment and inflation do. Stagnation and inflation. Trump's response to the early pushback on his idea is pledging to do more of it. Midnight tonight, more tariffs, 10% more on all foreign goods. What will that do? So far, it seems that the immediate effect is to make Americans shake with fear for their portfolios. China responded by retaliating, announcing their own 34% tariff on goods. So what is the gamble here? Trump is banking on boldness, right? That's his signature move. Americans respecting that he did something about China and the EU working us over on trade. But how does that fit into their reckoning of this overall economy and all the jobs we just added and the markets going crazy and people making more and inflation going down and unemployment being down? How do they balance what their problems are? And he's also gambling that our partners will come to the table before our economy collapses, as I said. But again, he isn't wrong that the EU and China take it to us in terms of what we're allowed to sell versus what they're allowed to sell to us in a big way. The real issue for Trump is, of course, China, though. And again, he isn't wrong that opening the economy to China affected American workers for the worse. Gave us lots of cheap stuff to buy, but it cost us on the production side. The annual trade deficit with China grew from $6 billion in the 80s to $295 billion last year. Okay, that tells you the story. Nearly 3 million manufacturing jobs were lost in this country, and the ones who kept their jobs suffered huge pay drops. Factory workers used to earn significantly higher wages than the average, but a decade after China entered the WTO, they now earn 10% below the average. And who benefited the most? Well, America got the cheap goods, but the real winner was China. China's poverty rate dropped, manufacturing wages nearly tripled, their economy grew 11 times larger, letting them become the world's largest exporter in 2009. So while Trump does deserve credit, in my opinion, for trying, okay, that credit is only as good as the result and whether these tariffs actually help or hurt. Many say tariffs are not the tool to fix this, including China, which, is, of course, upping the ante. And economists here and elsewhere say Trump decided to do more of what has not worked in the past. His tariffs are the most deep and wide that we've seen since 1930 Smoot-Hawley, and they're deeper and wider than that. Now, infamously, those tariffs had the exact opposite effect of its intended goal, decreasing exports by 60% as countries retaliated and the depression deepened. Then there is a darker suspicion, okay? Stay with me. Maybe Trump knows the tariffs won't change the trade situation. Maybe he knows American workers can't be supported this way. Maybe the tariffs serve a different purpose. Maybe Liberation Day doesn't refer to trade at all and is instead about taxes, specifically liberating the rich from paying taxes. How? Yale found that if Trump's tariffs remain in place, they could or would raise $2.5 trillion in revenue over a decade. The GOP tax plan to expand or extend extend, not expand. Trump's tax cuts will cost at least $4 trillion over the next decade. They're also cutting $2 trillion in government spending. So now you smelling what I'm cooking? Is Trump doing these tariffs to help his own tax cut ambitions? If so, that's not only bad economics, it's bad politics, because it would burden the average American household to the tune of nearly $4,000 a year. And for what? Okay? To pay for tax cuts for the rich? And this situation certainly hits the poor harder than the rich. Why? Spending as a function of your income. The bottom 90% spend 95% of their income each year. The top 1%? About 60%. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.